Welcome, Pewter Report readers, listeners, and viewers to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, Energized by Celsius. I'm John Ledyard of PewterReport.com. With me today is Scott Reynolds, also of PewterReport.com, and we are talking a little Bucs-Saints action for what we think will be the final time this season. There's always that potential playoff matchup between these two teams that looms if the Saints are to get their act together here a little bit with the season closing, Scott. But
aren't dead yet, but the Bucs can help bury them on Sunday night.
They really can. That's like, there are so many storylines to this. Obviously, the Bucs winning the first NFC South title since 2007 is on the table, clinching the playoffs. You know, not getting swept by the Saints again in the regular season like what happened last year, Scott. But by and large, there's also the opportunity to totally derail the Saints season here. That's something that is kind of fallen by the wayside as a storyline.
Yeah, I mean, the Buccaneers are helping themselves towards winning the NFC South title, and they're also knocking teams like the Falcons a couple weeks ago, and then the Saints perhaps on Sunday night down a peg. And the Buccaneers got some really good news on Monday, John, when the Rams beat the Cardinals. That puts essentially the Bucs, Packers, and Cardinals record-wise in a tie situation. There's still some tiebreakers that will be sorted out as the season progresses. But we also found out today, and we'll get to the Bucs injury news in just a little bit, as you mentioned, but some big news coming out of Arizona. DeAndre Hopkins out for the rest of the season with a knee injury. That's not going to – yeah, the regular season, correct. Yeah. That's not going to help the Cardinals' chances of hanging on to that number one seed position. And not saying the Cardinals can't, but I think they've got a match with the Cowboys coming up, right? So
they do. They have a couple of tough games still coming up. Yeah. So it's going to be
Buccaneers. As you mentioned in your Bucs briefing, great column, by the way, on PewterReport.com. Make sure you check out John's latest Bucs briefing. The Bucs do have the easiest schedule. This game on Sunday is not going to be easy, John, but after that, it looks like, the skies seem to part a little bit, and maybe the sea parts for the Buccaneers, and that ship rolls right towards an undefeated record here the rest of the way.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about this Bucs-Saints game because of the storylines, plus the intrigue of just the matchup in general, regardless of the storylines. But just looking at the Cardinals, it seems like they've done this before, right? They've started hot, not as hot as they started this year. And they honestly look good at losing to the Rams. I know some people might not want to hear that, but they had an interception at the goal line, and then they threw one near their own goal line.
Yeah, those were game changers. Yeah,
right.
Big time.
And again, we're always process oriented. So it's like, okay, how many times is that going to happen? How does that impact the result of the game? Rams played great. They deserve all the credit in the world, but I don't think the Cardinals, it was like this, they got exposed performance. They made a couple crucial mistakes. No question about it. They deserve to lose the game, but I still think this is a good football team. But without Hopkins, and Kyler's not 100%, and their offensive line looks like it's getting exposed a little bit more, it's hard to survive the way, not injury-wise, although that too, but the way Kyler plays, where he invites pressure constantly. I mean, just how many times does he get out of the bag? Like, just crazy pocket maneuverability that is not work for any other quarterback, really. And he makes it work. And so I think it's just hard to be consistent that way. So I think Arizona I'd have behind Tampa and the Packers right now.
I think so too. The interesting thing about the Packers, they've got a more challenging schedule than the Buccaneers down the stretch. And Aaron Rodgers admitting that the toe got a little worse on Sunday, right? It's not going to get better. And trust me, as it gets colder up in Green Bay, I mean, there's a frozen tundra up there, folks. It's legit, right? I mean, it gets cold, and not that the walking on grass is beneficial to a kind of a broken toe, or whatever toe ailment he's got going on, but certainly harder frozen ground like they're going to have later December and January up in Lambeau is not going to help either.
It's just, he's hilarious to me. Like, it reminds me so much of Ben Roethlisberger. It was like, I'm seriously hurt. I'm like this and that. And then they go ball out and have like their best game. And it's it got worse today. Like, you looked unbelievable. So, but we'll see. We'll see if it impacts him or not.
As long as it's not the right shoulder or the right hand, right? It's okay with it.
When I see the results on the field start to reflect something, then I'll start to be like, wow, like this, but right now he looks pretty good. So we'll see. Again, Bucs slate is obvious in front of them. They need to win out. There's no reason why they shouldn't win out. It starts with the Saints, and so we'll talking about them here in a second, Scott. But first, got to shout out our title sponsor, our friends over at Celsius. Celsius powers active lives
you got there,
every
John?
day. Essential functional energy, and I've got the tropical vibe. Believe it or not, when you try this, Scott, you're not going to believe this, but there's no sugar in it. It gives you all the energy you need.
I believe
there's no crash either. It's crazy.
Yeah, I had the orange today. I had a tropical vibe the other day, and I've got a peach vibe sitting in the fridge for tomorrow. Right?
You're already ready.
Well, peach vibe's kind of like on the outside looking in. It's outside of my top 5, but it's probably number 6. And so I never get tired of the flavors, though. That's the thing, John. And the reason why is because all of these flavors, I don't know what they do. I don't know what type of mad scientists they have in the lab, but like Fuji apple pear tastes like Fuji apples and pears. Orange tastes like orange. Strawberry guava tastes like if you have strawberries and guava and you squeeze them together in a sparkling energy drink, that's what you're going to get, folks. Wild berry, even the cola flavored, which we don't talk about enough, tastes like cola. I'm not going to mention any brand names, but if you like cola flavored, try the cola flavored Celsius. So where can you get these amazing flavors? Well, the great thing is you can go to pewterreport.com and you're reading John's stories and Matt's stories and mine and Casey's and JC's stories. Look for those Celsius banners on the site. Click on them, put in your information. That'll take you to a store locator, or just go to Celsius.com, click on the store locator, type in your zip code. You'll see all these stores pop up, convenience stores, grocery stores, health and fitness stores, and then try these flavors. Once you find the ones that you like, there's going to be a lot of them, folks. Go ahead and subscribe and save on Amazon. They ship them right to your door, John. You know this because you do it too, and you save money on every case.
Yep, it's great stuff. You know what else is great stuff? Bucs-Saints matchup, Scott. They are great stuff every time that they come on, pretty much. Not the result all the time.
Results, yes.
but the result of the playoffs was, and then they come back and I think played a game where it indicated to me that they'd solved the Saints in a lot of ways in terms of the defensive. How do the Saints are shutting down the Bucs offense. I think that they had enough in that game that made me think, okay, they can beat this defense like schematically. They know how to do it now schematically. Right. Obviously, a couple of the turnovers were unfortunate and their timing, and the Saints made some plays, give them credit. But I felt like schematically, I felt a little bit more even on that side of the ball. Let's talk about the Saints offense first. Taysom Hill is a quarterback.
Yep.
This offense has been the Saints scoring production has been aided against the Bucs by pick sixes, like in a fluky sense over the past couple weeks, but they've still scored points on the Bucs defense despite really, Drew Brees even toward the end was not great. Obviously last year was not great. They've had limitations at quarterback and still put up points on the Bucs. So the fact that they're going into this one with Taysom Hill at quarterback, I still am not that relaxed. Taysom Hill is not good, but he's not horrific either, and he definitely can make plays with his legs.
2 words for you, John. Trevor Siemian, okay? I wasn't too afraid of Jameis Winston, to be perfectly candid, in that game. The Bucs knocked Jameis out, and if you remember, Trevor Siemian came in and ended up beating the Buccaneers and beating them quite handily. There's Jameis getting tackled, and he was dancing on his crutches in the Saints locker room, eating more W's against the Buccaneers for these just quality regular season wins, John. But yeah, but
Siemian was the one that lit him up, and
Trevor Siemian was the one who did the most damage. There's no doubt about it. So I just think that the interesting thing about this matchup for the Buccaneers, the timing couldn't be better, because I think that there's more film now on Taysom Hill in terms of some of his strengths and weaknesses, because he's a guy that only has a handful of starts as a quarterback. He's been used as a wildcat quarterback. He's a runner. He hurts you with his legs, probably even more so than his arm. But the thing is the Buccaneers have seen him as a runner. He's done some damage to the Bucs in the past, and so they've got to do a much better job of corralling him. And I listen, if I'm Todd Bowles, given the Saints' lack of weaponry, and the reason why I say that the timing is great is because last week they faced a guy in Josh Allen, and with Allen being a running quarterback who can throw, and even Arian said this on Monday when we asked him about the fact that Taysom Hill is coming on the heels of playing Josh Allen. I think it helps the Buccaneers because they got to look at what a real running quarterback can do and a guy that can throw the ball even better than Taysom Hill. And that's one thing that Bruce said is, Taysom Hill is not the passer that Josh Allen is. Allen ran for 100 yards. Taysom Hill ran for 111 yards against the Cowboys, over 70 yards against the Jets last week, and 2 touchdowns. So he's a dangerous dual threat. If I'm Todd Bowles, though, what I'm doing is I am bringing the house, man. I am putting so much pressure on this guy. I am making him beat me with his arm. And I think that the more people they can send to Taysom Hill, the better, John. I'm this is the game where I break from the norm with the soft zone stuff. I play man, and I go after this guy with multiple people. Now, I do realize that man, that creates some problems, right? Because if you allow him to escape, you got a lot of defensive backs with their back to the ball, and then you could spring Taysom Hill unexpectedly for some big runs. But that's how I would attack him. I would just go after this guy, try to get as many sacks as possible, because he has been sacked 5 times in the last 2 games combined.
Yeah, and there's a number of things to talk about in terms of the Saints offense. I believe Deontay Harris is still suspended. Obviously, Michael Thomas doesn't look like he's going to play at all this season. So they are kind of hurting at receiver. You could argue those are 2 of their most explosive guys. They have not been a good receiver group at all, really. They cut Kenny Stills, I think. I mean, Kenny Stills is a pretty decent player for a lot of his career. He couldn't even cut it there. So Sean Payton, by the way, didn't attend practice today. He was feeling under the weather, so he was working from home. I mean, that's crazy. Like on a Wednesday for an NFL coach to do that, it really makes you wonder what his status is. So we'll just wait and see rather than speculate. But Cam Jordan, I believe, was he on the COVID list last week, I think. And so we'll see what his status is. He and Mark Ingram were not at practice today. So there's still a lot of question marks with the Saints. They are getting healthier at some spots. Just in general, Alvin Kamara's back, and that'll obviously change some things. Sean Payton's talking about how they got to pass the ball in this game, and I believe him. I'm not saying he's wrong, but it's just hard for me to look at the personnel that he has and think, I can find a way to run against the Bucs, whether it's trying to spread them out and get them into nickel and dime where other teams have had success against them. It feels like the Saints are going to try and
exactly what they're going to do. Yeah. And I think that they're going to try to use a lot of Kamara. You're going to get a heavy dose of Kamara. It's going to be the Kamara and the Taysom Hill show. And I think we saw Kamara last week against the Jets. Now, granted, it's the Jets, but I mean, he had 120 yards. That matched his season high. He had 120 yards against the Giants earlier. He had 120 yards against the Jets. So he loves taking it to the Big Apple. There's no doubt about it. But he had a touchdown, averaged 4.4 yards a carry with a season high 27 carries. So I think what you're seeing is Sean Payton adapting to Taysom Hill and not putting the game entirely on his shoulders. Taysom Hill only threw the ball 21 times. Now, granted, they're playing the Jets. They had a big lead, and so the game didn't really facilitate that. But Hill did get sacked 3 times. He threw the ball 41 times against the Cowboys, only completed 46.3% of his passes, threw 4 picks and 2 touchdowns. So I think that you're going to see Taysom Hill kind of play that Jameis Winston style of game, right? Where Sean Payton's going to say, I'm going to limit you. You're going to be the point guard, the game manager. Yep. We're going to let Kamara win this game for us.
Yeah. It's just funny. I mean, Taysom Hill has such a bad arm that I just, the Bucs have been so good at taking away the deep ball. Yep. I wonder if this is the game where they just dare him to make a play down the field. I mean,
I would.
No quarterback throws the ball where it travels longer in the air down the field. Like Taysom Hill's deep shots, I mean, that thing is just up there and up there and up there. I mean, it's crazy how long the ball hangs in the air when he throws it down the field.
Yeah.
It's just so unique compared to every other quarterback that I'm just like, man, I wonder if you just count on the fact that this guy can't do this and he doesn't really drive the ball that great too beyond the intermediate portions of the field. So I just wonder if you play so much more aggressive in coverage and jump stuff. And
I would,
because he's just so, I don't think enough teams have just challenged him. You know what I mean?
I agree. Trevor Siemian is a classic pocket passer. That's what he does best. He, this sounds funny, but he can carve you up, right? If you don't get pressure on him, which the Bucs didn't, and you play soft coverage, if you give Trevor Siemian something, he will take it, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. The Bucs, got 1 sack on him, the Ndamukong Suh sack late when it really didn't matter, and I think maybe Golston had a sack as well, kind of in garbage time. Or no, that was against the Rams. Sorry, wrong game. But no turnovers by the Bucs defense. They were playing really soft. They didn't put themselves in position to really take the ball away. So, John, I'm with you. I think you go after Taysom Hill aggressively. And the thing too is this is a big dude, right? I mean, this is a big guy similar to Josh Allen. Now, he's smaller, but honestly, I think he runs harder. He's 6'2", 221, very strong.
Yeah.
And you might need a couple guys to bring him down the way the Bucs missed tackles, John, and missed sacks this year. So that's kind of why I'm saying send the house at this guy, because if you send Devin White on a blitz and he's got a point blank opportunity to take Taysom Hill down, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Same with Shaq Barrett, same with Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, and JPP as well. They've all
and
been
in his
sacks.
career, Hill hasn't been like this great creator out of structure where obviously Allen can be, because Hill doesn't have that arm. Like he can't throw from all those platforms and be accurate in tight windows and stuff.
Yeah.
So even if you don't finish as often in this game, I don't think it's as scary as letting Josh Allen out of the pocket or Jalen Hurts out of the pocket. We talked about that early in the season, where those guys have pretty outstanding arms and can make plays down the field when your coverage breaks down if they get out of structure. That's just not really Taysom Hill's thing either. So I'm in favor of an aggressive approach for sure. I'm in favor of the fact that taking advantage of the fact that Sean Payton is going to be like, hey, we got to get the ball out quick. You're known for holding it. They're going to get you if you hold it. We got to get the ball out quick. Well, jump stuff, play tight, make him go to his second read, those kind of things. That's not how Taysom wants to play quarterback. If you make him go to his second read, he's going to panic in the pocket and he's going to try to run. And so there's a lot of ways you can defend him that I think you can be successful. I don't think that he's the dynamic threat. You just can't be sloppy. You can't blow coverages and you can't miss a ton of tackles, which I just wrote an article about at PeterReport.com. But the Bucs are now, after that game against the Bills, where they missed Josh Allen point blank, it still was effective for sure. For example, the pressure that they created resulted in Sherman's interception thanks to Joe Tryon-Shoyinka after Barrett missed a tackle. But the missed tackles for the Bucs are pounding up. They lead the league now in missed tackles. So that's got to be cleaned up moving forward. They actually have more missed tackles this season, 2 more missed tackles this season, Scott, than they had all of last regular season. So
and there's still some games to play.
16 games. Yeah. They've already bypassed it. So it's concerning. It has to get better. Last year was not really an issue compared to other teams around the league. This year, it's definitely an issue for them. So if they can clean that up, and Kamara's part of this too, right? The Bucs have, for all the struggles we talk about, I've seen people in the chat saying, Bulls gets wrecked by Sean Payton. It's kind of true, but it's weird that it's true because he's taken away Alvin Kamara like every time. And honestly, most of the time, at least the last 2 years, this year, obviously Thomas hasn't played, but last year he took away Michael Thomas and it just in all 3 games really. And it just didn't matter. Like they found other guys and they were throwing to tight ends and throwing to Deontay Harris. And, Peyton's always got answers, but this year the Saints don't really have that kind of talent. So if they can keep doing what they've done against Kamara, I mean, even earlier this season, Kamara, 19 carries, 61 yards. And he had that's 3 catches for 15 yards. I mean, he averaged 3.2 yards a carry. And he had 3 catches for 15 yards. He averaged 5 yards a catch. That's nothing. If he does that, there's no way the Saints can win, right? Like that's but look, they won. It's just crazy.
John, Hizo 813 asked a great question, and it's on my mind too. So, how did Taysom Hill earn that big contract extension again? Now, this is really the second time he's seen a ridiculous payday, right? I mean, when Drew Brees was on the way out, Peyton and Loomis made him a rich man, and I don't know why, because
nobody does.
He's a tight end, running wildcat quarterback, kind of a quarterback, kick return guy, and then they commit to him again, which I'm sure made Jameis Winston feel really wonderful since he beat Taysom Hill out for the starting quarterback job in training camp. What are they doing, John? What are they doing with this guy?
Meanwhile, Jameis was playing for like chump change.
I know.
Nobody wanted him last season.
Getting horse collar, whipping the knee for chump change, man. Jameis has got peanuts. While the love affair with Taysom Hill knows no bounds.
It continues to go on. And
can you explain
funny thing
it?
is, Taysom Hill is somebody that everybody would like to have on their team. Like,
but not
for
as
sure.
quarterback.
He plays special teams, and he can give you 5 crazy snaps a game on offense. But like, why are we paying him this kind of money? Like everybody wants him, but he's a bottom of the roster player. And even for the Saints, he's a bottom of the, like until this, Jameis got injured. Simeon, was he injured or benched or both? I don't remember. Like only that situation has resulted in Taysom being a quarterback. Ordinarily he's a bottom of the, like even for the Saints, they have their druthers. He's a bottom of the roster guy, but they just love him. Like they love him and they don't want him to leave. He's 30. He's going to be 32.
Yeah.
I mean, to give that kind of money to somebody like that, there's no words for it, man. Like,
Yeah, see, that's the thing. He's not even like this 26,
no,
27
there's
year
not even
old
like this
like
upside.
young development guy behind the scenes. This is a guy that that Sean Payton has known for quite some time. Obviously sees something in it that no one else sees. No one else sees.
Yeah, and
No one.
I don't know that Peyton. The weirdest part about it is that I don't know that Peyton even. I know that. I mean, it's clear, right? Peyton doesn't really see him as their quarterback of the future or anything like
No.
that. They'll probably be major players for Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson in the offseason, and we'll just have to see how everything plays out with their cap situation. Obviously, there's ways you can always
Got this
manage
contract
stuff,
extension after he lost the starting job to Jameis Winston.
yeah, that's what doesn't
Riddle me
make any
that,
sense.
Batman.
Like it's probably the weirdest thing going on in the NFL. I mean, in terms of contract situations, it's up there. But either way, with the Bucs, they've made a lot of ordinary quarterbacks look good at certain points. So this will be a very interesting defensive game plan. I know we're going to talk about the Bucs offense, Scott, but I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. The Bucs defense should dominate this game. The Saints have not played great on offense. They do not have the answers to be able to challenge the Bucs at all levels of the field. The Bucs can, because they're going to go into this. It's not like the Bills game where the Bills ran for all this yardage because the Bucs were clearly playing coverage, or late in a couple fourth quarters when that's happened with Colts and Eagles trying to get down and score and come back. The Bucs are going to go into this game fully aware of the limitations at quarterback here and game planning to stop the run. And they haven't really been gashed by the Saints run game for the most part when they've gone in respecting the pass more than they will this week. So I think that this defense has this one tailor-made for them. Saints are going to try and run the football in this one. Bucs have to be able to rise up and make plays. Saints offensive line is not as strong as they used to be. The pass rush has to be effective. I think having Joe Tryon-Shoyinka as an inside rusher, I mean, like I said, his pressure was part of the reason that interception to Richard Sherman happened. He may not have the sack numbers everybody wants to see right now, largely because he's missed 9 tackles, which does need to be cleaned up. But again, if we're talking about a rookie and that's top criticism, it's pretty encouraging still to see the fact that he's come in. He's been a factor and a problem on a regular basis, even if the sack numbers aren't there. I think for a guy like Taysom Hill, that kind of interior quick pressure, it could just totally he drops his eyes. He gets a lot of sorts. I think he could throw things off, but you have to contain the pocket. That's number one. They didn't do that against Allen very well. So there's still question marks with the Bucs defense for sure. I just think on paper, there really cannot be excuses in this game, right, Scott? I mean, it's one thing with the Bills. They have a great second half. They have a great offense. They have a great quarterback. That's going to happen. But that kind of letdown can't happen against the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, Demario Davis is just he's a Bucs wrecker. It's not like he is like the guy that gets the big turnovers, but he's got such command of that defense, and he gets those guys in position to where you just don't see the Saints make mistakes on defense, right, John? Like that's the thing.
The other side of the ball is a different story to me.
Yeah,
like, this is still going to be a war.
Yeah,
Bucs
but the thing is,
Saints defense will
right?
Still be a
but
war.
the thing is, the Bucs defense makes mistakes, and they're just not nearly as opportunistic. That's when it boils down to, why have the Saints beat the Bucs? It's because of the turnovers, right? It's like the Saints, with the exception of one game, which was the playoff game, and it took 4 Bucs takeaways on defense to 0 for the Saints for them to get a 10-point win, right? So as much as we want to sit there and say, oh, the Bucs creamed the Saints in New Orleans, no, that was a close game until Antoine Winfield Jr. punched the ball out of Jared Cook's hands, and Devin White decided to scoop it up and get the Bucs offense into the red zone. But the Bucs defense has got to be a lot more opportunistic because the Saints have outsacked the Bucs. The Saints have got far more takeaways. They've got pick sixes, galore in the series. So it's something where the Bucs defense, for whatever reason, Sean Payton has been kryptonite, because this has been, with the exception of that playoff game, this has been a unit that had just not shown up against the Saints. In the sack department, they have not shown up in the takeaway department.
Yeah, and what's interesting, you mentioned the takeaways and the sacks. This season, it's not even close. Like, the Bucs are blowing the Saints out in that regard.
Right.
But when they meet each other, for some reason, it doesn't play out that way all the time. But in this season, the Bucs have forced 25 takeaways. That's good enough for 5th in the NFL. The Saints have forced just 17, which is tied for 15th in the NFL. Sacks, you go to, same thing. The Bucs are 35 sacks this year, tied for 6th best in the league. And the Saints, on the other hand, are at 29, tied for 18th in the NFL. So
Right.
there's a pretty major difference in those two regards. And that was another thing that gives me encouragement for the Bucs. If you're producing splash plays, you're up against a team that right now is struggling on that side of the ball.
Yes.
It just
To
feels
score
like
points.
this is a game where the Bucs defense needs to say, that first half against the Bills, that's who we are, in terms of coverage, in terms of pressure, that's who we are. We're not going to have the letdowns that we had in the second half. It was a really good team. It was 10 bad minutes really in the fourth quarter that did it to them. We're going to shake that stuff off, bounce back like we did in overtime, make stops. We're going to close out the season that way, honestly. That should be the last 4 games of the season. They've got to be trending that direction.
Bingo. You nailed it. John, and the thing too is on paper, and this is not my prediction, folks. Don't misquote me. On paper, this should be a 38-3 game in the Bucs' favor, right? I mean, that's really what the tale of these two records, statistics tell you. But you throw all that stuff out when these two teams meet for whatever reason, just because, I'm a big believer. Listen, coaching is important. Players are important. Is the NFL players game? Yes, it is. But there have been plenty of great players and great teams that have been absolutely wasted with poor coaching, right? And there are some fantastic coaches that just don't have enough players, and they get fired because they ran out of time and couldn't stock their roster. Maybe they didn't have the right general manager in place. The two have to work together. But for whatever reason, the combination of Sean Payton and Dennis Allen have worked over Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich, and Todd Bowles. And quite honestly, it needs to stop because the Buccaneers showed that they can match wits with the Saints from a coaching perspective. They didn't get outcoached in the playoff game, right? They didn't. I mean, there's that one gimmick play, that the Jameis Winston touchdown and all that stuff. Okay, fine. That's one play. John, that was the only Saints big play in that game, right? It was a trick play touchdown.
Yeah. And there were moments that they got outcoached earlier this season, but I still go back to that game and I look at a lot of variables and a lot of bounces going the Saints' way, who was a good football team at that point, especially defensively.
Right.
I really push back against the idea that Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians, to whatever degree he's involved, got outcoached, because I think
not in that game. Not in that game. That was their best offensive
That was their best
performance.
game, right? Yeah,
it really was.
They did some really good things. And again, Brady said it. He missed the throw on the final drive. Evans was open. He should have hit him instead. He threw to Godwin. Earlier in the game, Godwin gets held and it results in an interception that's in Saints territory. That hurts. The Cam Jordan play, I mean, how many times have we ever seen Brady strip sack? Like, it's happened like 3 times in his whole
It was
time
such a
as
fluky thing.
It
It's
was
like
just a weird play.
It's so funny,
Sometimes
right?
football goes that way. But they missed Evans, right? The deep touchdown, right sideline early in the game. They end up punting on that drive. And they missed him. Lattimore kind of grabbed him, and Arian said it after the game on Bucs Total Access. They thought they had one there, no call. So there were a lot of those moments. I thought schematically the Saints had struggled to find answers, but they created a couple of splash plays, a la Bulls defense when they're successful. I thought that was more the story of the last game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like the players. That's kind of an issue, right? It's like if you look at if you're watching us on YouTube. This is the sack that Tristan Wirfs gave up, right? He's got Cameron Jordan fully locked up and engaged.
Brady he gained some ground on this play. It was a good bull rush by Jordan, but at the same time, it wasn't like the kind of it wasn't like the Khalil Mack sack last year, which is the other one.
This is a thing where the left hand of Jordan reaches out and swats the ball out of Brady's hands. Didn't even really knock Brady down. Brady, I think, went to try to find the ball and ends up on his knees.
Right.
But it's very similar.
It was that kind of game, man. It was. And I'm not taking anything away from the Saints. I think, offensively, obviously they were aided by a ton of penalties too. And that's where I get back to, man, how much was this game just one of those games, and how much did the Bucs really get a coach? I think we'll learn. Some of that in this upcoming matchup for sure. I want to talk about the other side of the ball for sure, Scott. But first, I want to talk about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy, because right now they're still doing their deposit match, which is awesome, up to $100. And also, if you're doing the pick'em games over at Underdog Fantasy, the player prop bets, the over/under player stat lines that I love to do every single week, you can go to Underdog Fantasy. You can get a pick 2 correct, and you can triple your money. Get a pick 5 correct, and you win 20 times the amount of money you enter with. It's simple. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download their app. Sign up with the code PEWTER, PEWTER, and build a pick'em slip in seconds. They're going to give you a free $10 when you sign up and make your first deposit. So download the Underdog Fantasy app, sign up with the computer, and enjoy your free $10 today. Actually, what they'll do is they'll match whatever you put in. So if you put in 10, they'll put in 10. If you put in 50, they'll put in 50. You put in 100, they'll match you up to $100. So head on over to Underdog Fantasy, check it out. I think I'm going to put something in for the games tonight. I'm not a Warriors fan. Everybody knows I'm a Suns fan, I think, but I have a Steph Curry shirt, and I'm repping it in honor of him getting the all-time 3-point mark last night. It was a pretty cool moment. His story's awesome, I think, and so I am repping a little NBA on the show today because I had to. But yeah, player prop bets over on Underdog Fantasy. There's some good ones to look at for sure last night.
Speaking of money,
check those out.
Matthew,
$5 super chat. Nice win by the Bolts last night. Yes, it was.
Bolts.
I got my free Chick-fil-A. Did you get your free Chick-fil-A, Scott? Do you have the app?
No, I did not.
When the Bolts win at home, you get free Chick-fil-A.
Oh, that's
it's
nice.
The next day. Yeah.
Appreciate the heads
All you have to do is
That's
have
cool.
the app, and you open it up after the game, about half hour after the game, and I had a free spicy chicken sandwich today. It was quite delicious. If you don't know about it, check it out. Yeah. When they win at home, that's what it goes down. But appreciate the $5 super chat, Matthew. Like to see Rojo get more carries and more Perryman as he rocked in 2019 with Mike and Chris down. Yeah, we're going to transition to the Bucs offense here and talk about Brashad Perryman in a second, Matthew. First, I want to get to the injury report today, mainly because I'm going to forget about it if I don't.
Right.
Jamel Dean out with an illness. I wish we would have gotten more questions today about what's the situation? Like he's ill, like he got sick on Sunday and he's still sick on Wednesday and he missed.
The thing is he recently had a concussion. Right?
But does this mean it's unrelated? Because he's not listed as a concussion now, and nobody asked him today.
Right, exactly. And sometimes, and I'm not speculating, I'm just saying sometimes you can get ill. You can get some like vertigo type symptoms, some dizziness and stuff. And that can make you ill from your concussions. I don't know if that's the case here, but I'm concerned that something like that might be the case. Or is this something unrelated? We'll have to investigate further tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. Leonard Fournette had an ankle. It did not sound serious. Bruce said he came in Monday, I think it was, and he said he had a sore ankle, so they had to just put him on the report. Today was a walkthrough anyway, so they listed him as did not participate. Didn't sound serious. JPP, full participant. Bradley Pinion, full participant. Right hip banged up. They did sign a punter, Sterling Hofrichter, great name. He punted for the Falcons last year. It was his only year, and he was really good, Scott. He was just hurt in training camp, and so he didn't end up. So I think he's just finally healthy again. So actually, another nice ad, it looks like, based on his numbers from last year. Just having another punter in store on the, and he did kickoffs too for them. He had a handful of kickoffs for the Falcons last year and did well too. So if Pinion were to go down or something like that, they would have another option there. Richard Sherman has a sore Achilles. He just keeps showing up there. Did not participate. Jordan Whitehead was upgraded to limited participant. That's a very good sign for this week. Having him will be very helpful, especially in the box, one of the best run defending safeties in the league. I think it's no surprise that run defense has been a little without him on the field.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Antoine Winfield with foot, again, did not have any questions or get any clarity on that one about how serious that is. So we're kind of in the dark there. We'll try and figure out more as the week goes on. Won't get Arians again until Friday, though. For the Saints, significant stuff. Teron Armstead did not participate with a knee injury today.
Right. And the other tackle too.
Obviously. Ryan Ramczyk also did not participate with a knee. I believe they've both been playing through injury. I'm trying to remember now. So neither have been 100% for most of the year. Marcus Davenport limited with the shoulder. He'll probably keep playing, but he's not been 100% this season. Caden Ellis, special teamer, has a hamstring injury, did not participate. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has been playing hurt and honestly is just having a pretty rough season for the Saints. He was a limited participant with a toe injury.
Aside from when he plays the Buccaneers.
I mean, well, he got the pick, but Chris Godwin lit him up for like 140 yards. So I don't know. It just depends with him. He's all over the place. But Garrett Griffin, the tight end, did not participate for the Saints. Taysom Hill, full participant with that right finger injury. Little Jordan Humphrey, who's actually been a part of their wide receiver room, did not participate either with a hamstring injury. And Ramczyk, you mentioned, did not participate with the knee. And then Pete Werner, the linebacker, who's one of their starters now, I believe, did not. Is limited with an elbow injury. So they're banged up, but most of those guys are going to play, just probably not at 100%. So we'll see. Also, Cam Jordan and Mark Ingram are on the COVID list, I believe.
Right.
If I'm remembering correctly. So let's get to that question about Brashad Perryman, because it was a good one.
Yeah.
How I always talk, Scott. It was a great moment. I give the moment its props, the 58-yard catch. Reality is he didn't have any catches. He had one target. Again, He didn't play that many snaps, though. He played 26 snaps, I think, and Tyler Johnson played 40-something.
Right.
So Tyler Johnson got the wide receiver through rule back for this game, it seemed like. I'm not really sure what the process is there, but what's your read on the room going forward? Who do you want to see to play the most? Do you want like them to split at halves? Do you want Scotty Miller to play? Are you that influenced by one play, or are you looking at the bigger sample size of, well, this guy's played a lot of snaps without much production? Part of the reasons he's playing with a lot of other good players. Like, what do you think about the wide receiver room?
I like the hot hand, and listen, we'll see. I'm a big believer. I don't go around quoting Aristotle, John, but when I do, it's this quote: excellence is a habit, not an act. Okay, so just dropping some, upper school knowledge there. I did go to Kansas State after all, so we know about things like Aristotle. But the thing is I want to see Brashard Perriman have more than one moment, because you know what he did in 2019, and I thought it was really telling what Brady said in his post-game interview with Tracy Wolfson off the field, when he said, that play gives us some confidence. And I think Brady was saying, like, I didn't really trust this guy. Like, every time I throw him the ball, he dropped a touchdown against the Giants. He had a catchable pass. I think that he couldn't haul in earlier in the game. And, Brady throws to the open guy on the last play. It happens to be Perriman. He scores the touchdown. I think Arians probably is talking this guy up. Yeah, back in 2019, this guy did this guy did that for us. And Tom's like, okay, that was like 2019. And like, what have you done for me lately? Right. And the thing is Perriman really didn't come on. Matter of fact, I wrote a column, I think, saying the Bucs should cut him during the 2019 season, because I'm just looking at a 2019 season now. This is how things started for Perriman in 2019. 2 catches for 10 yards, 0 catches. I'm just going down the weeks here. Yeah. 1 catch, 6 yards, 0 catches, 4 for 42, 2 for 17, 1 for 20, 1 for 44 against Atlanta. That's kind of when he started to awaken, right? That was November 24th, 2019, right? So that we're over halfway through the season. Brashard Perriman was a non-factor for the entire first half of the season, right? Yeah. That 44-yard catch, it kind of ignites him. Then he had 5 catches for 87 yards against Jacksonville. Evans gets hurt on December 8th, pulls the hamstring on a touchdown. He's done for the year. So he's out for 3.5 games. And guess what? He catches a touchdown in that game. Does Perriman 3 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Then 3 100-yard games back to back to back. I don't know, John.
I don't either. Every time you're ready to bury the dude, man.
I want to see that guy again, but he's going to have to show me more than one play, because he's kind of starting off as he did in 2019. He plays in 3 games, does absolutely nothing, and then did nothing on Sunday outside of that play. So it just seems to me that this organization is kind of moving on from Scotty Miller, which is shocking to me, given how big of a factor he was. John, you've said it before. I'll say it again for you. He was the leading receiver on this team heading into the Saints game on Sunday Night Football last year at the midway point.
Yeah.
Then Antonio Brown comes to town, and Scotty Miller is just yesterday's news until AB gets hurt. And then he has some great catches in the postseason. But here's the thing. When AB comes back off the suspension list, I don't see Scotty Miller being active anymore. Do you?
No, he's not active right now, so I definitely don't see him being active at that point. No, I think it's they'll have to. I think they might carry 6 at that point. We'll see, but yeah, I mean that's definitely I don't know what goes on.
And listen, and I'll just say this too, like I can almost get more of the love affair for Brashard Perriman than I can for Jalen Darden. Like, I don't want to give up on the guy and bury a rookie. I haven't seen anything.
He had a good return. It just got called back to the penalty.
Okay, great.
I haven't seen
one return. I don't know. I just don't see it. It's too many times he reminds me of Dexter Jackson, not the Super Bowl MVP, but Slip and Slide, the guy called Slip and Slide, the guy who, when he was near contact on a punt return, would literally like slide, duck down, whatever. And it's like, are we seeing the second version of Slip and Slide here? I thought this guy was tougher, and I'd like to see it. And it wasn't the biggest guy. But I mean, Warwick Dunn wasn't a big guy either. He was tough as nails.
Yeah.
Super chat from Harrison. Thank you so much for that. Love the pod. It's likely that the secondary will only have a few games together. How do you project this unit performing in the playoffs? It depends on who's available, right, John?
It does. I think the starting five will be ready at that point, and Edwards will be back. But I mean, Whitehead being limited today gives me some hope. They won't push him for this week, but obviously, if he's ready, they'll play him, and that can help a lot. I watched the snaps where Sherman was at safety. I mean, he didn't get thrown at necessarily a lot, but they missed a coverage rotation. And again, I'm not blaming him. Like, he missed a coverage rotation and then the Bills' last drive, and it probably should have been a long touchdown to Diggs, and Allen missed the throw and the timing was off or whatever. But and he missed the tackle. Again, he's trying to fill the alley from a deep safety position for the first time in his life. And he's now has less athleticism to work with. So there's so little margin for error.
True.
I just don't get it at all, man. Like, play him at outside corner, move Murphy Bunting to the slot, put Cockrell back there at safety with Winfield, and stop screwing around. Like, instead, Cockrell's giving up 80 yards in the slot to Cole Beasley, who he doesn't. Yeah. I mean, Murphy Bunting might have gotten toasted by Cole Beasley too, but like, that was the Bills' offense. Like, they were throwing those quick strikes to Beasley. And it's like, well, why don't you just move Cockrell back to safety? Like, Sherman, they're not running the ball. You don't have to have the safety, running the alley every single time to like make a play. Like, you just need a guy who can play in coverage. And so I didn't understand the approach. It felt like they like couldn't wait to pull out this Sherman's going to play safety in a game. Like, oh boy, it was just like, I mean, like, and Aaron said on Bucs Total Access that he got a pick as a safety. I mean, he's in press man coverage at the line of scrimmage on the play. Okay. So I mean, maybe rolled up to cover the tight end, but he was in press man. Like, that's something he can do. If you want him to do that, if you want him to be your dime guy in that way, okay, that's awesome. Right. I don't know if you'll need that against the Saints, but that's awesome if you want to use that. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make any sense to be having him out there with. I mean, he was out there in do or die time against Josh Allen and the Bills. Like, honestly, they're lucky they didn't actually go after him with many concepts. They really didn't attack him. They probably should have. And not to discredit him, it's just first time playing safety, and he's probably a below average athlete for a defensive back in today's NFL right now. It's just a tough sell.
Well, and it's like he's made it last. I mean, I love Richard Sherman, like the player.
The body,
the body. I love the body of work. I don't love the body right now. I mean, the body's broken down.
We'll see what this Achilles is, but I'd love him as a dime safety stopper. Absolutely. If they run up against somebody. I'm trying to even think real quick in the playoffs if any of the other NFC teams have like a great tight end. I mean, the Cardinals
wish this guy was healthy because I mean, the body work is there, but the current body is just broken down right now, and it stinks. He's definitely banged up. Yeah, there's no question. But I mean, he's another guy that I think it's great that he's here. I just think he coaches everybody up. You watch the all-22 tape.
Some
value.
He's running on the field. Sean Murphy Bunting made that like 3rd and 2 tackle, and he threw the receiver down or short of the sticks. Yeah. And he's running out onto the field, and like he's an energy guy. He encourages the younger guys. I think he helps build their confidence up. He knows how to teach and talk to people. I think he's a very helpful part of the team. I love the fact that they brought him in. Yep. And he made a great play on the pick. He was blanketing. I think it was Dawson Knox on that play.
That was vintage Sherman, like anticipation and jumping on that. All that.
Those kind of roles, if you need him against a tight, he can physically match up with those guys. Like he can be a valuable player in the right matchup. But I just think asking him to play safety when you don't need him to. As an emergency option, okay. But you didn't need him. Right. You had Cockrell. You could have put Murphy Bunting in the slot, put Sherman outside at corner. Like, it just felt like they were trying to be too cute a little bit. But anyway, it didn't burn them. I doubt they do that against the Saints because no reason to. They're not going to be playing dime as much against the Saints. But it will be interesting to see how they deploy people still this week. I think that there's no question in my mind that if Dean can go, he and Carlton Davis are the outside guys. I do wonder if there's going to be at some point, not frustration toward Dean, just like if he can't finish a game, because this is set, 4 games this year where he has gone in and then been out in the first half because of something. Right. It's like, do we want to practice all week without him? And then he put him in there on the outside. I think he's played great. I'm not saying this was his fault, but like first play of the game against the Bills, they should have had a touchdown. He didn't know the coverage call, and neither did Sean Murphy Bunting. I think either of them to that side of the field. And receiver Emmanuel Sanders ran right by him, wide open touchdown. Josh Allen just didn't even see it. End up throwing the ball in the flat. It would have been an easy walk-in score. And that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, if we practice all week without him and then play him,
Yeah.
Is he going to be ready? Because he's a guy where the mental
Right.
reps probably matter a lot still in his third year. So that's something the Bucs are going to have to weigh too, is at what point does he miss so much practice time that he might not be able to be himself out there, and maybe Murphy Bunting gives us a better chance to win. I don't know.
I'm with
I
you.
hate that idea, but
yep. Harvin's got a great question or comment, really. I fear this current COVID infection tsunami in the NFL is going to totally knock out a team or two. Hopefully Tampa but won't be one of those teams. Bruce Arians said something really interesting today. And it's like, we're kind of seeing down here in Florida, John, it's 80 degrees today, right? It's December, right? I'm waiting for some cold weather to get here. Winter in Florida is measured by days, not weeks or months. Okay, like it is up north. And what Bruce Arians said is true. They do a lot of stuff outside. The Bucs still have the COVID protocols in place where they spread the team out. They do meetings in open air type of environments. So the risk factor for the Buccaneers, and not just that, it's like, there's still people like going for walks, and there's no snow here, and there's no cold weather. People are outside, and they're not indoors where they're being, susceptible to catching
everything
COVID.
Happens indoors. Yeah. And
exactly. Like it is up
more.
North. And so I think just from a geography standpoint, I think the Buccaneers might be in good shape. And in case you don't know, when the team does go on the road, Arians has a rule that it's not an NFL protocol. It's a Bruce Arians protocol. And I think it's a great one. It's something that he did last year. Nobody goes out on the road. So when they go on the road for these next couple of games, they go from the airport to the hotel. Everything is kept in there. So there's no risk of going out to a restaurant or a bar, or a shop or whatever, and catching something. So far, knock on wood, it's worked for the Buccaneers. And I think that from a geography standpoint, it definitely helps the Buccaneers.
Yeah, could definitely be a factor, no question about it. Some good comments here, and I appreciate some of the support. Whereas Steven said, I love John's take on the Bills penalty thing. Bucs had just as many bad calls against them that caused the game to be as close as it was. I appreciate all the Bucs fans jumping in on Twitter, and I did not expect it to be a complete war zone. I mean, a disaster field right now in my mentions on Twitter. Yeah. Bills versus Bucs fans just going to war. We might have created like an actual rivalry. The Bucs might in this game. Yeah. The refs might have. I don't know. But yeah, plenty of bad calls to go around. I definitely feel Bills fans frustrations. I think Bucs fans would be frustrated too. And if they were, I would just remind Bucs fans, most games it usually goes both ways. I said that's that in the Cowboys game, the end of the game.
Unless you play the Saints, and then it's completely lopsided every time in favor of the Saints.
Yeah, and then the Saints fans do the same thing. You go into their playoffs, and so it's just every fan base has felt like this. At the end of the day, the better team won in that game.
Speaking of Saints fans, maybe the Saints' #1 fan now, Drew Brees. I kind of went to war with him on Twitter last night. Oh, my gosh. I had to. Sorry. That was cheap and petty on my part. But
what is he thinking when he tweets that? Like, what is he thinking when he says, what did he say? Something like, and then what? And then what happened?
And then it was a whooping. Okay, great. Celebrate that 38-3 win.
What do you think the replies to this tweet are going to be? Like, you just set yourself up to get cooked on Twitter. Like, that was pretty brutal. I hate to see a guy walk into it like that, but that's like a day one Twitter mistake right there.
I had to let him up with that. And I reminded him that his last NFL career pass was an interception by Mike Edwards.
Yeah.
In his last game was an L in his own place.
Yeah.
To the eventual Super Bowl champion.
And we're not like trying to it's not like we're like super anti Drew Brees or anything. It's just like, buddy, if you're gonna put that out there on Twitter, you're gonna get it, man. Like,
you're gonna get it.
He got wrecked. Like,
I might have had an old fashioned last night, John. That might have been the impetus for that tweet.
Watching the Lightning win in overtime, and you got
maybe that was a factor. I don't know.
That might have been it. No question about it. But in this game, let's get back to some of the statistics for this matchup, because when the Bucs have the ball, I want people to think about this for a second. We are going into week 15. The Bucs are first in the NFL in points per game by like 2 points per game too. Like it's not very close in terms of points per game right now in the NFL. They are first in yards per game.
Are they still the only team over 30 points?
Yeah. Only team over 30. They're 31.5. 410 yards per game, first in the NFL. 314 passing yards per game. Only team over 300 passing yards per game, I believe also. 7.5 yards per attempt and pass. Yeah. They only average 96 yards per game rushing, but that's 25th in the NFL. But Scott, let me ask you this. Like, if the Bucs ran for 96 yards in every game the rest of the year, how happy would you be with their rushing performance? Probably extremely happy, right? Like,
Yeah.
96 yards is great for a team that never runs the football.
For the
They're averaging
Buccaneers,
4.3 yards per carry.
And
That's great.
John, you said something that was really important in your Bucks briefing,
Mm-hmm.
and Bruce Arians says this too, and it's something that really needs to be highlighted. It's not so much about rushing production as it is about rushing efficiency, right? It's getting the most out of your runs, because you can sit there and I can run the ball for 125 yards, right? But if I average 2.9 yards per carry doing it, and it might take me 42 carries to get that number, right? That's not really telling how effective or how successful the Bucs run game was. Like, for example, when the Bucs back in 2002 ran the ball up in Philly against that Hugh Douglas, Jim Johnson defense in the NFC Championship game, I think Mike Allstott averaged like 2.8 yards per carry, but the efficiency of the Bucs running game, and I think the Bucs only ran the ball for like 70, 75 yards, something like that. Yeah. But they converted so many 3rd and 1s with the running game. And so it was the efficiency that made the running game effective, not so much the production. And that's something that you're kind of telling us about too.
Yeah, second in EPA, expected points added per rush, which to not get into it too much, but it basically tells you the amount of value that they're adding per rush. Like, are they wasting carries? Are they not? Are they getting them in effective situations? Are they not? The success rate across the NFL, they're second in success rate per rush as well. That means, if on first down, do you get 40% of the yards to gain, or 70% of the yards to gain? On second down, do you get 40% of the yards to gain? On third down, do you get 100%, or third and fourth down, do you get 100% of the yards to gain? So they're effective in those situations where they need to be effective by and large. So this is a good sign for the rushing. The changes to the scheme have been everything. I've kind of said this to you, that I think Leonard Fournette's, his growth as a pass catcher and as a pass protector have been, I think I've called it the most surprising thing about the Bucs team this season, has been his growth in those two areas. I still think as a pure rusher, Ronald Jones is better. I totally understand why they don't give him more opportunities. Obviously, with Giovanni Bernard on injured reserve now, that probably will happen for Ronald Jones. I am just curious to see what it's going to mean for the rush game, because to me, if people studied every rep of the tape, I think Ronald Jones is just a better pure runner. I've said this for all season. I think a lot of Bucs fans do agree. I know there's definitely a defense of Lenny out there, and it's warranted. Lenny's been terrific, and especially, like I said, pass game and pass protection, especially, just awesome. Like, way better than I ever could have expected him to be this season. But I am just curious to see what happens with the pure running game if Rojo gets more opportunities, because when Gio was in there, they never gave him the ball. So he has as many carries as Keyshawn Vaughn this season. So he wasn't going to run the football. Now I wonder if it's like, okay, we're going to give Ronald Jones, Giovanni Bernard's 8 snaps a game or whatever. And so now Rojo's up to 16, and we're going to run half of those times. So now Rojo's getting a few more carries a game. And I just wonder if they can hit one with him, because right now the blocking in the run game and the scheme in the run game are like times 10 what they were last year, when Rojo had a still pretty good season for the Bucs. And I just wonder, like, if there was a better pure rusher back there, just like, what are the heights for this run game? And Rojo still has his drawbacks. I don't think it's going to be a significant difference, but I'm curious enough on that front, just because the blocking and the scheme have been so good.
I'm with you. And you highlighted the Bucs offensive line, John, in your Bucs briefing. I appreciate all the $20 super chats you're giving me for promoting your column today, John. But no, it was really well done. And speaking of super chats, Matthew with the $5, shout out to the big guys up front that give Brady time to scan the field, see all the reads off season, a challenge on the O-line. And that's right, because you've got two big guys, Ryan Jensen and Alex Kappa, who are going to be free agents, along with Rojo and along with Leonard Fournette and Giovanni Bernard. So we're talking about this running game that might only have a couple of games left together. It'd be interesting to see how, what that is going forward. And I am actually addressing the running back position of my Fab Five, Leonard Fournette's future, as well as taking a look at some running backs that could help this team, because one of these guys, maybe two out of the three free agent to be's, Fournette, Jones, and Bernard, is not going to be here.
Yeah, for sure.
You have Keyshawn Vaughn. They're going to have to draft a running back. Is it going to be early? We've seen Ronald Jones get drafted in the second round. We knew that they liked Antonio Gibson out of Memphis early. We knew that they liked Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin early. But they've also drafted running backs late under Jason Light, whether it was Keyshawn Vaughn in the third round, dare I say Jeremy McDougal's in the fifth.
It's so obvious you can find these guys anywhere. That's the nice
Yeah.
part about running backs. Why I just don't fret about it at all. Like if you screw
Yep.
up the evaluations on 3 guys at that position, like Lord help you, because it just
Right.
rarely. I mean, look at the Cardinals. They're out here with James Conner, whose body was just cooked basically in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh the last couple of years, and he's going to score 20 touchdowns this season,
Yeah.
Scott. I
He's
mean,
had a
that's
phenomenal
incredible.
year.
Like
Right.
that's just, and that's what I mean. Like this is every year we talk about this kind of stuff. When the scheme is right and the blocking is right,
Yeah.
it's amazing how many backs can be productive in today's NFL. So
Sure.
they'll prioritize. We'll see what happens
Yeah.
with that.
I think Cleveland's the same way, right? Whether it's Chubb,
Yeah,
whether
I
it's
mean,
Hunt, whether it's Johnson, it's
Ernest Johnson,
yeah,
like
Ernest Johnson. It's like the same running game, and
yeah,
Seattle has been the master when it comes to running games. They don't always have the best running game, but they're
lately,
consistently
yeah.
good because they draft running backs every year. And sometimes it's a first rounder like Rashard Penny, who's, aside from the other night, has not been that great at all, right? He's been a bit of a bust. But then sometimes they draft a guy in the 7th round, like Chris Carson out of Oklahoma State, and he becomes more of that 1,000-yard workhorse back. So I think we're getting to the point now where you've seen the Bucs draft Ronald Jones, then a couple of years later it's Keyshawn Vaughn. And I think you're going to see the Bucs draft another running back this year to get a cheaper version, a cheaper option in there to roll with either Leonard if he comes back. I don't think Rojo's coming back. Giovanni if he comes back, and then of course Keyshawn Vaughn, who we haven't seen much of outside of a gunner this year, John. So
Yep. I know we got to wrap it up here pretty soon. Let's touch one last thing I want to talk about. I think the key for this Bucs game offensively is how they match up with the Saints' variety of bodies they throw out there in the D-line. Like the Saints have this unique ability to challenge the Bucs in 2 ways that I think everybody asks. How have the Saints given the Bucs problems? They can go 6 deep at DB and they get 6 good players on the field when they're healthy. Like that was the Saints recipe last year. But we already saw some chinks in the armor this year, Scott, to be honest. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had a heck of a time against Chris Godwin. Marshawn Lattimore, they usually rely on to be a stud and shut down Mike Evans. He spent a great whole game getting toasted. It might not look like it on the box score, but he had a rough game. PFF evaluated it as such. It was one of his worst graded games of his career, I believe. And so he's had a rough season. It's continued. The safety, the Saints are still good. Malcolm Jenkins and Marcus Williams are still very good. The other cornerback spot has been a problem area too. Bradley Roby, Paulson Adebo, neither have looked ready. Neither have been as good as Janoris Jenkins was last year for them. And Janoris was still the weak spot for that group last year. So, there are more holes in that area than there have been in the past. Where I don't think that's true unless Cam Jordan's out or, we'll see what happens with Marcus Davenport is up front. The Saints have still have a ton of bodies. They can throw a lot of people out there. If Cam Jordan's healthy and playing, Marcus Davenport, David Onyemata, those are 3 guys that are in your rush packages that all 3 of those guys honestly can still win one-on-one at a high level. And they all present challenges all up and down the lineup. Like they can put Davenport inside and bring Granderson off the edge and he's tough. And so they just have had a lot of people that have been, obviously when they had Tano Passanio and they had Peyton Turner, they had more bodies they could throw out there. Those guys are on IR right now. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson as well. I believe they've opened up his window. Maybe I'm not sure how that's working with him right now. I think maybe they got him off last week because I think he played last week. So I don't know why he's listed on the IR here that I'm seeing. And Adam Troutman, I believe the tight end, by the way, came back today as well to start his practice window. We'll see if he becomes healthy as well. So there are still questions with their defensive line. It's not as deep as it was when they played in midseason, but that's still the group in my opinion. Like they can still put out 4 good players, and then there's obviously Demario Davis, who I think is probably one of the toughest players that the Bucs play each year. From every standpoint, there's no weakness to his game. He knows what they're doing. He communicates. He rallies everyone else around him. It's probably one of the hardest individual players that Tampa Bay has to overcome each year. And I think Brady would say the same thing. So those guys still present a big challenge up front for the Bucs, I think.
Yeah. And speaking of challenge, we're going to come up with our picks here in just a minute, John. But the challenge for me will be, can I match last week's winnings on MyBookie? Because I had a great week. I hit the prop bets big time on Sunday's game against the Bills. Thankfully, it went into overtime because Tom Brady threw for over 300 yards. Rob Gronkowski went over 4 catches. Andy went over 60 yards, all in the overtime period. And I hit on those prop bets. So, folks, the holiday season is upon us. MyBookie is in the giving spirit with 12 straight days of giveaways. Every day, there's a new exclusive promotion for you to redeem. And the best part is it's all free when you sign up and make your first deposit with MyBookie, starting December 21st. That's coming up next week. And ending on January 1st, you can bring in the new year right with giveaways that can help you fill your stockings with cash this season, from odds-on boosts to casino chips to straight-up locks. MyBookie's 12 days of giveaways is a can't-miss promotion. And folks, I have cashed in on their giveaways. So if you're thinking about joining MyBookie, do it now, because this is the time to cash in with these 12 straight days of giveaways. And that's not all. When you get started with MyBookie, they're going to match your all-time first deposit up to $1,000 with the promo code Pewter. That's double your funds to double your winnings, and get in on all the best action in MyBookie. Don't miss out. Double your first deposit up to $1,000 by using promo code Pewter. Head to MyBookie, place your bets, and get in on the best 12 days of the year today. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
And Scott, if you want to make a little more money so that you can spend it at MyBookie, where are you going to go to do that? To make a little bit more money? You're going to go with our friends and invest a little bit over at Amuni Financial.
At Amuni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Dude, congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you. And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you?
Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track, so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. Amuni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
John, we got to do it. We got to get to Colorado, man. It's too hot down here in Florida. I'm a Midwestern guy at heart. I'm missing the cold weather. They got it there. We don't have it down here. But listen, what they do have at Amuni Financial is the ability to help you manage your family's wealth. And that means more to Amuni Financial than simply allocating your assets. It means legacy planning, brokerage and advisory services, retirement accounts, college savings accounts, and insurance services. With over 40 years of experience in the Tampa Bay area, let Amuni Financial help you plan ahead and stay ahead. Do what I do. I called Amuni Financial, got most of my investments with Amuni Financial. I just love working with Mark and David.
Mm-hmm.
Visit them online at Amuni.com or give them a call at 1-800-868-6864.
All right, it's prediction time, Scott. We got to put our money where our mouths are now.
That's right.
We've talked at length about this matchup, so I'll let you go first, obviously, because I'm such a gentleman. Who do you think wins this game?
I think the Buccaneers win this game. I've been burned before because I've picked them. I always thought this is the time where they're going to beat the Saints. This is the time. Matter of fact, I've been wrong every single time, I believe. I think dating back to last 2 years, I think I've been wrong. Yeah.
Wow.
Except I think I picked the Saints to beat the Bucs in week one with
Okay.
Brady. Yeah.
Right.
But I was even wrong in the playoff game. I was like, hey, you got to prove it to me before I pick you. But I think that the Saints are reeling right now. The Buccaneers just are in complete control. They want the hats and T-shirts on Sunday night. They do. They want to. This is the best way for the Buccaneers to win the NFC South, is to steal the crown from the team that is currently wearing it. That's the Saints doing it on national television. Mm-hmm. John, this team has not forgotten what happened last year about this time, maybe a little bit earlier in the season, but on Sunday night in Tampa, that 38-3 beatdown still lingers up here. They want to make amends for that. They want to make amends for what happened on Halloween in New Orleans. So I think that Tampa Bay is the hungrier team. I think they come out more focused. The defense, I think, comes out and actually gets some takeaways, John. That's what they need. But it's still going to be close. Why? Because it's Bucs-Saints. And every time the Bucs win, it's a close one. Every time the Saints win, it's kind of a blowout. So I think the Bucs win a close one, 30-26.
Believe it or not, Scott, this is my fifth game as a Bucs beat reporter covering Bucs-Saints, because last year too, and in the playoffs this year. And I predicted all four correctly. I predicted the winner of every game correctly.
Do it again, John. Do it again.
I'm going for it. I just want people to know that track record's out there in this matchup. And I'm picking the Bucs to win.
Yes.
Will it be the prettiest game in the world? Does it scare me a little bit? Because the Bucs are coming off a very emotional, very hard-fought win, and the Saints have basically everything to play for. I mean, everything. Like, this is where some of those guys thrive, back against the wall, trying to stay in the NFC South, keeping the Bucs from winning the title. Literally, their playoff lives, like all the doubters, all that kind of stuff. They thrive on it for sure. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think Bucs fans are going to want to break some things in their house during the first half. And then I think in the fourth quarter, the Bucs are able to pull away a little bit. Maybe it's late in the game. Maybe it's a field goal drive at the end of the game to win it. But I'm going 23-20 as the final score in this one. I think it's going to be
what's the
lower
score?
Scoring, 23-20.
Wow.
I think it's going to be lower scoring. I think the Bucs pull it out. I think it's going to be ugly, but I think they're going to get that NFC South title, and then I think they're going to win the rest of their games as well this season too. Well, maybe I should spoil that, but I don't think anybody saw me picking. We'll see. Maybe old Cam Newton will come back, and maybe I'll turn against the Bucs for one game.
Yeah, see that I'm with Brian here, John. 23 points
at home. Yes,
they always score 30 points at home.
Yeah, they do. But I think the Saints. I think it's going to be one of those games, man. Coming off an emotional until the Bucs can string them together and come out like gangbusters like they did against the Bills, right? When they can do that week to week and not have Washington game, Giants game. Who is it after the Colts game?
Yeah,
it's like like every time it's like. You have no idea what to expect with how they're going to start a game. Like you
That's
just
true.
don't have any clue.
This team keeps it interesting week to week. There's no doubt about it.
It's not at that point yet where it's like, okay, every week they come out the same way against everybody. We just haven't seen that. So until they do, I think you're going to get some unpredictable scores. But yeah, we'll see. I think it's going to be 20-20 Bucs. Hopefully, hope it's more. It would be awesome to just blow them out and win the division that way. That would be sick to watch, I think. But I think a lot of Bucs fans would find that very therapeutic, but I don't see it this time. But we'll see. We'll see.
I think a lot of Buccaneer fans, as long as the Bucs have got one more point than the other guys do, I think they'll be fine with it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. The way places they've been.
Yep.
Okay, everybody in the chat, hit the thumbs up. Give us a like before you head on out of the chat, out of the show. Give us a like on this one on this stream, and subscribe to the Pewter Report TV YouTube channel as well. Hit the like button on our videos. Right now, we got a bunch of videos going up. I got an all 22 up on the good and bad of Brady from the last game. Some of the things he did great
video.
Some of the things that he struggled with a little bit at times too, and then I also looked at the end of the game situation. I looked at those calls by the officials and how they can swing narratives a little bit sometimes about a player or a game or things like that. So check it out over on YouTube. We're trying to get more stuff up there this week as well. I know Paul's thinking about doing something as well. So make sure you're subscribed, hit the like button, check it all out. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We'll be back 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for more on the Pewter Report podcast. Out.